You never expect the end to come with a sentence. You think it'll be a fight, a discovery, a moment you can point to and say, yeah, that's when everything changed. But for me, it was just a quiet afternoon, sunlight leaking through the blinds, the smell of her chamomile tea in the air, and then those words. I will no longer be intimate with you. Just like that. No build-up. No warning. Just a line she drew, clear as glass. We'd been sitting at the kitchen table, not even arguing. I think we were talking about bills. Maybe the car. I don't even remember anymore. What I do remember is the way she said it. Calm. Like she was ordering groceries. Her eyes didn't even flinch. I looked at her, stunned. Not because I couldn't believe it. Some part of me already knew something had changed, but because she didn't even feel the need to explain. It was just a statement, and from the look on her face, she considered the matter closed. And maybe it was. I won't pretend everything before that moment was perfect. It wasn't. We had drifted, sure. Life has a way of pulling you apart without you noticing. Work, routines, expectations. But I always thought we were just going through a phase. I mean, who doesn't? Every couple hits a dry spell. Every marriage gets strained. You ride it out, right? Apparently not. I didn't react, not then. I just nodded, got up, and rinsed my coffee mug out in the sink. She stayed seated, scrolling through her phone like we hadn't just detonated something between us. That night, I lay awake next to her, staring at the ceiling. She had already turned over, asleep or pretending to be. The silence between us was deafening. I wasn't angry, not yet. Just hollow. Like someone had scooped the center out of me and left the shell behind. Over the next few weeks, I tried to carry on like nothing had changed. I cooked dinner, took out the trash, paid the bills. I asked how her day was, even when she gave me one-word answers. I tried to touch her shoulder once while passing in the hallway, just out of habit. She flinched. That's when I stopped trying. I think part of me hoped she'd notice, that she'd feel the shift and ask what was wrong. But she didn't. If anything, she seemed relieved. Freed. As if saying it out loud gave her permission to stop pretending. But it wasn't just about sex. God, if it were only about that, maybe I could have stomached it. It was what came after, the slow unraveling of everything else. I'd get home from work and find dinner unmade, dishes in the sink. She used to care about those things. Used to ask if I wanted help with anything if I was too tired. But now she barely looked up when I walked in the door. I remember one day, I came in soaked from the rain. I'd forgotten my umbrella and had to walk from the train. She looked up from the couch, saw me dripping, and said, "There's a towel in the bathroom," before going back to her show. Not, "Are you okay?" Or, "Let me get that for you." Just distance. She wasn't cruel. Not on purpose. But she was done. Emotionally checked out. Like I was a roommate she no longer had to impress. That's when something in me shifted. If she was done giving, why was I still pouring into a cup that wouldn't even acknowledge the spill? So I stopped helping her. Stopped picking up her prescriptions. Stopped checking the oil in her car. Stopped picking up groceries I knew she liked, or pausing the TV when she walked into the room. She wanted independence? Fine. Let her feel what that actually meant. It wasn't spiteful, at least, not at first. It was self-preservation. I'd spent years trying to be the guy who showed up, who held the fort down, who kept things moving even when the wheels were falling off. And for what? So I could sleep in a bed where I wasn't welcome? So I could keep being the dependable one while she handed me rejection with a straight face? Nah, not anymore. The first time she noticed, I was on my way out the door early Saturday morning. She was in the kitchen, hair a mess, rubbing her eyes. "Hey," she called, "can you pick up the dry cleaning?" I paused by the door. "Nope." She blinked. "What?" "I'm not doing that anymore." I didn't wait for a reaction. I just walked out. That was the start. From then on, I did the bare minimum. Paid my half. Did my laundry. Ate my meals. And I kept my distance. No arguments. No passive aggression. Just silence. That's what confused her most, I think. The fact that I didn't lash out. I just disconnected. And here's the thing, she didn't collapse immediately. For a while, she was fine. Maybe even enjoying the quiet. But over time, I saw it wear on her. The dishes didn't wash themselves. The bills didn't auto-sort. When the car battery died, there was no one to call but a stranger with a tow truck and a bad attitude. The first real crack came one night when the power went out during a storm. I was in the spare room. Yes, I'd moved out of the bedroom by then, reading with a flashlight when I heard her fumbling around in the dark. "Do you have the candles?" she called. "Nope." "You always light them when this happens." "Not anymore." There was a long pause. Then I heard her slowly walk back to her side of the house. No more words. A week later, she asked if I could help her set up her new laptop. She'd always been tech clumsy, and usually I'd be glad to do it. But this time, I just said, Google it. She stared at me. Seriously. Dead serious. That night, she didn't even try to say goodnight. But I slept better than I had in months. I could tell the desperation was starting to creep in. The little things piled up. The sink clogged. The internet went down. She ran out of toner before a Zoom call and scrambled to print things at the neighbors. And each time, I stayed on my side of the fence. Eventually, she tried to pretend nothing had happened. Started leaving little offerings, fresh coffee in the pot when I woke up, folded towels on the bathroom counter. I didn't acknowledge them. Because if intimacy was off the table, emotional, physical, all of it, then so was the version of me who kept giving without receiving anything in return. That was the trade she made. By the time I packed my bag, she was already unraveling. I didn't make a scene. I didn't leave a note. Just took what was mine and left her with what she claimed to want. Space. Independence. Freedom. But the silence I left behind? That wasn't peace. That was a mirror. And she had to sit in front of it, alone. I didn't go far, not at first. Just a modest apartment on the other side of the city. 1 bedroom. Sparse. No photos on the walls. No scented candles on the shelf. Just a couch, a kettle, and a view of the parking lot. But it was mine. I didn't text her. Didn't block her either. Just turned the volume off and let the silence do the talking. At first, she didn't reach out. I expected that. Pride's a stubborn thing. But about 2 weeks in, I got a text around midnight. Are you okay? I read it, turned my phone face down, and went back to sleep. A few days later, another one. I didn't think you'd actually go. No apology. Just surprise. Like my leaving was the unpredictable part, not the line she drew that started it all. Then came a voicemail. Her voice was soft, almost like the version of her I used to know. She said she missed me, that she didn't realize how much I did, that maybe she should have worded things differently. She didn't mention what she said, not directly, but we both knew. I sat on the edge of the bed, listening to her voice trail off into static, and for a moment, I felt something shift in my chest. Not forgiveness, not anger, just the weight of all that silence. I didn't call back. That weekend, I went to the park. Just sat there on a bench, watching a father try to fly a kite with his daughter. The wind wasn't cooperating, but they laughed anyway. I don't know why that stuck with me, maybe because I hadn't laughed like that in a long time. That was the real loss. Not just the relationship, but who I'd become inside of it. Quiet, dull, running on obligation. She called again that night. I didn't pick up. I knew what would come next. Regret always gets louder when no one's there to absorb it. When your audience disappears. The next week, I got an email. The subject line was just my name. Inside, she wrote a few paragraphs. Said she'd been talking to a therapist. That she'd been exploring her feelings. That maybe her decision to pull away had less to do with me and more to do with things she hadn't addressed from long before we met. She was digging into her past, she said. Trying to understand what made her shut down. She said she was sorry I got caught in the fallout. It was the most honest I'd seen her in years. But it wasn't enough. An explanation isn't an eraser. It doesn't undo the nights I lay awake wondering what I'd done wrong. It doesn't refill the space I poured myself into for so long. And it sure doesn't change the moment she told me, without blinking, that she no longer wanted the part of me that felt most human. Intimacy is more than sex. It's trust. It's softness. It's choosing someone even when it's hard. She didn't choose me. I thought about writing back. I opened a blank reply more than once. But the words never came. What was there to say? I understand. I forgive you? No, I didn't. And maybe I didn't need to. A month after I left, I ran into a friend of hers at the grocery store. One of those awkward aisle crossings where we both pretended not to see each other until we were too close to ignore it. She gave me that tilted smile, the one people wear when they know something but don't want to be the first to say it. She's a mess, she said finally, lowering her voice like we were trading secrets. She didn't think you'd actually walk. I just nodded. Are you okay? She asked. I shrugged. Better than I've been in a while. She didn't press. And I appreciated that. Because here's the thing. Healing doesn't look like fireworks or revelation. It's quiet. Boring, even. It's doing your own laundry on a Sunday without feeling like a background character in someone else's story. It's standing in the shower and not wondering if she's waiting for you to finish so she doesn't have to talk to you. It's eating dinner in silence and realizing for once that the silence feels peaceful, not punishing. That's what I was starting to feel. Peace. 2 months passed before she reached out again. This time, it was a letter, handwritten, slid under the door of my apartment. The envelope had my name in her old script, the one she used to write love notes with back when we were still those people. Inside, she wrote about missing me, about how the house was too quiet now, how she hadn't realized how much I carried until it was all left in her hands. She mentioned the time I used to leave coffee on her nightstand before work, the way I'd set the thermostat a little warmer when she had cramps, the time I fixed the cabinet door without telling her. Small things. But that's what we're made of, isn't it? The tiny kindnesses. She said she never meant to push me away, that she thought she needed space, but what she really needed was connection, and that by the time she realized the difference, I was already gone. I read that letter 5 times. Then I folded it up, slid it into the drawer, and made dinner. Not out of cruelty, just clarity. Sometimes people don't know what they've lost until it's already too late. And sometimes you become the strongest version of yourself by refusing to be someone's backup plan. I never went back. I kept living. Quietly. Steadily. And in the absence of chaos, I found something I hadn't known I was missing myself. She reached out once more, months later. A single line. Would you ever consider talking? I didn't reply. Not because I hated her, but because there was nothing left to salvage. We had our chance, and she let it slip. I don't know where she is now. I don't check. I don't ask. All I know is the man who walked out that day isn't the same man who stayed so long trying to prove his worth to someone who didn't see it. I'm not angry, just done. And sometimes that's all the closure you need.